Hi, okay, thanks for watching. Sorry for that last video. I don't know how to do videos. My wife just called me, so I had to cut that video. This is part two, okay? Part two, what I'm talking about. So basically what I'm trying to say is that the core of cluster B, and I think also addictions and ADHD, I think we're dealing with arousal dysregulation, okay? Dysregulated arousal, okay? And that causes problems with dialectical processing. Okay. Now, my hunch is that dialectical processing, which is the reconciling of contradictions, dissonances, differences, conflict, irritations, things that are unpleasant, as we reconcile those things, okay, that reconciliation process gets degraded, okay, when we have arousal dysregulation, okay. Just like in politics, the dialectics of ideological positions. This is the reconciliation, the confrontation of contradictory ideologies, contradictory political parties. And when you raise the temperature of the country and you get people overheated and you get people too aroused, okay, this is arousal dysregulation, which we see even in healthy people in the United States, in the political spectrum. Um, Basically, in that context, you see that the dialectical process of reconciling these positions becomes degraded. Okay, so basically, I propose that cluster B is basically an arousal spectrum disorder. Okay, it's an arousal problem, and it causes degraded dialectical processing. Okay, so why is that dialectical processing important? Okay, the dialectical processing is important because I believe that dialectical processing is how we temper our behaviors, our reactions, our feelings, and our self-concept. Okay, if the dialectical process becomes degraded, okay, then we're left with sort of disparate, exaggerated positions. Okay, and then everything about us is maybe too how would you say, too unstable, okay, and that even our self-concept is not coherent, okay, so that as we go to different shifts in different states, we actually become like different people in different states where we don't have a sense of being one person. Okay, we lose that becomes degraded because I think we need to have a good dialectical process to be able to contain and integrate all the different experiences and states that we experience. Okay, so basically and then the other thing is that when our dialectical processing gets degraded, just like in the politics we see today in the United States, things get more exaggerated, things get more unbounded, okay, more unlimited, sort of unbounded, unlimited, and it just comes across as being exaggerated. It doesn't have the flavor of healthy reality. Okay, so how do we deal with that? Okay, so basically, I proposed in the last video, the part one, that basically to have cluster B, I think you have to start with a general tendency towards irritability. Okay, irritability, and also a habituation, okay, from an early age to not tolerating discomfort, dissonance, irritation, contradiction, all those things that demand the dialectical processing. Okay, dialectical processing comes out of dissonances, comes out of confrontation, differences, discomforts, things like that. Okay, so basically, we're habituated on top of being irritable. We come into this with a habituation to not tolerating uncomfortable, dissonant things. Okay, so that combination right there will produce very kind of flash reactions where we kind of overreact maybe, and we don't have like a smooth reaction in terms of our arousal. Okay, to discomfort, dissonance, contradiction, irritation, frustration. Okay, so basically we have kind of a snap reaction. Okay, and that snap reaction, I think, causes a sort of an arousal dysregulation in the sense that I think normally we want to have our arousal kind of on a continuous sort of, like say, avoiding spikes. Okay, so it basically causes a spike in our arousal, sort of like an arousal spiking. Okay, and so basically what I want to propose is that I think that people tend to be kind of programmed by their experience. Okay, so I think basically our arousal patterns, okay, tend to sort of become sort of programmed into us. It's sort of like our software. Okay, and so I think basically if I have the combination of being irritable, okay, And if I have the habituation towards arousal spiking, okay, or peaking and spiking of arousal, okay, I'm going to develop an arousal spectrum or an arousal amplitude, okay, which is maybe too steep and too wide. Okay, basically I'm sort of spiking and peaking too much in my arousal. My highs are too high, and what happens? What do we learn from addictions? When people get too much into gratification patterns, where they start to peak their gratification, they tend to sort of set up sort of also like very steep drops. Okay, so basically it's instability in arousal, where it's dysphoria, euphorias, dysphorias. We get quick gratifications, and then we get very acute, uncomfortable dysphorias. Okay, so there's a lot going on with the arousal, where the arousal is kind of not. The arousal should be more smooth, more continuous. And so my proposal is that our the quality of our dialectic becomes degraded to the same degree that we have too steep and too spiking and too abrupt changes in the arousal. Okay, so basically, if I were to approach, like, say, a therapy for, like, say, cluster B, I wouldn't focus so much on, hey, let's talk about your arrogance. Hey, let's talk about your grandiosity. Instead of doing that, I would focus more on working on getting the arousal to be more smooth, okay, and also working on the baseline of arousal baseline, okay. So basically, this is going to be a short video, but basically, I would just say that I think we may waste our time talking too much about the symptoms, okay? And so that maybe it's better if we focus more on just addressing the idea of arousal and trying to sort of smooth our arousal patterns, okay? And just get the arousal more steady, okay? Obviously, we're going to have to learn to tolerate more frustration, okay? But basically, learning how to tolerate frustration and developing a more stable arousal pattern, that to me is really the avenue, and the pathway towards healing, I think, for us. Thanks for watching.